Okay, so at this point in the Maimer, in the previous Oisius, Rebbe is explaining the connection between Tzivois Hashem, where Tzivois is secondary to the name Hashem, and that we explained is the Nitzutzis, the Bira and Nitzutzis, the Avodah of gathering the sparks, the Avodah of elevating everything in the world around us to be connected to Hashem. And that is the way in which you effectuate the name Tzvakos itself. Namely, that the presence of Hashem should be one with this world, in which before our Avodah of Nitzutzis seemed separate from Hashem, it should become one with Hashem, just like it's obviously one in Atzilus. And Atzilus is obviously one, and in Biyah requires Avodah Birurim. So Tzivos Hashem, Avodah Birurim, makes or elicits the name Tzvakos, that in Biyah itself should be one with Hashem, just like it is in Atzilus. Now that he's going to take it to a deeper level. This, the Avodah of Tzivos Hashem, or Tzivos Hashem, indicating the Avodah of the Yidden in connection to Tzivos, the name of Hashem itself, to a deeper level. And I mentioned there's a little bit of a sleight of a hand, but there switches the language a little bit, and it took me reviewing 2-3 times till I realized what it was. But once you see it, it's very, very, it's pretty amazing. Okay. Ubira Inyan, in explaining this matter, is Yud Hashaychis the Tzivos Hashem with Tzivos Hashem Tzvakos, explaining the connection between Tzivos Hashem, which is the Avodah of the Yid, Tzivos being secondary to Havaya, which till now we've explained means the Avodah of Birurim, gathering the sparks, elevating the sparks. Explain that, and the connection between that, L'Shem Tzvakos, the name of Hashem, which is Tzvakos, which till now we said means, the connection is because through the Avodah of Birurim, we elicit Tzvakos, we elicit Oisu B'Tzova Shalai, we elicit that Hashem should be one in Biyah like He is in Atzilus. But let's explain this connection, but at a deeper level. How so? Because Shem Tzvakos, we said before, the name Tzvakos comes from Netzach Lahoid. That within Atzilus, the name Tzvakos is in Netzach Lahoid. Now, previously we said that it's called Netzach Lahoid because Netzach Lahoid is Levar Mugufa, is on the outside of the body, right? That it's the external land. It's a part of Atzilus, which is there getting ready to infuse Biyah with life. So it's not Atzilus in the pure sense. It's not one with Hashem in the pure sense. It's only the internal part of Atzilus. Atzilus is the world of Hashem. It's Ilma Achtos. So, but this is that part of Atzilus waiting to go into Biyah. That's what we explained it till now. But now we're going to see that why Netzach V'Hod, the fact that Tzvakos is Netzach V'Hod is not showing on the fact that it's low, but rather on the fact that it's rooted in the deepest. It's the first change already, which you alluded to earlier, but now it becomes more apparent. And the previous Rebbe explains in the Maimer of Basi L'Gani, and actually in the next Ois, right, in Ois Yud Aleph going forward, which I think the Rabbi mentioned, the Rebbe said in Tafshin Chaf, after that once Yud Shvat of the 10th year happens, the Avodah of Yud Aleph starts, which is the Midas HaNetzach as explains there in that Maimer. And the Fidik explains in the Maimer that the Midah of Netzach, Natua, is implanted or mushash and rooted, the Etzem HaNefesh in the essence of the Neshama. And because Netzach is about conquering. When there's an enemy, it invokes the deepest part of me. When the king is existentially threatened, as the Maimer there explains at length, when the king's kingdom is existentially threatened, his Etzem HaNefesh has been touched, so Midas HaNetzach is awakened, and the king is willing to give everything to make sure that the battle is successful. That's Midas HaNetzach. Now, what does that mean in Avodah? Because we're talking about Tzivos Hashem, right? Tzivakos is Hashem's name, Tzivos Hashem is the Avodah. So where's the Avodah here? The Midas HaNetzach, Midas HaNetzach in the Yid, Nitzach and Al-Muhammad, the winning the battle. Which battle? In Manifest Bahamas with the animal soul, the internal struggle, which is already one little switch. Before, when we described Tzivos Hashem, we described it as Avodah Birurim. So we're talking about the world around us. And now he's saying that what's the Avodah that you're talking about, this Midas HaNetzach, is an internal struggle. Of course, they're one and the same, because the Nefesh Bahamas says, I want the world to be me, me. And Avodah Birurim says the world should be for Hashem. But nonetheless, the focus here switched. That it's not about, it doesn't mention Avodah Birurim, but the Avodah of Netzach, the internal struggle with the Yid has with his own Nefesh Bahamas. So what's elicited when a Yid invokes his own Netzach to fight his own Nefesh Bahamas? What's revealed and elicited then is ma'atzmas answer from the very essence of Hashem. Mamish has explained at length in the Maimer there, from Oisidaf going forward. Baruch Yoser, and even more detailed in the Maimer of Basi L'Gani, in Kama Pratim with other details. But Rush Chakamur Merashab's Poseidon in the Rebbe Marashis, in the Rebbe Rashab's Maimer, upon which the Maimer of Basi L'Gani is based. This Maimer Betz Mayim Azet Tofresh Pei Ad L'Inyan, to the point that it gets that Sitkas Perzoinoi B'Yisrael, the tzedakah is like the justice that Hashem did in expanding or spreading out the Yidden. But Perzoinoi, which means to spread out, Lashon Prozes, come from the term, meaning not that they're spread out, but that they have expansiveness. A little bit of a change in the term of the verse. As it says, that Yerushalayim will sit spread out, without a wall. A city has a wall because they're worried about being attacked. Mashiach comes proselytation of Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim will live without walls because they're not worried anymore. But the expression is that it doesn't have a wall. A wall doesn't just protect, it also contains. And therefore, proselytation of Yerushalayim without a wall is beyond any limitation. So when a Yid reaches a part of Neshama that's not taking on any limitations, that's netzach, to overpower, not to reckon with the limitations that the animal soul, that the Nefesh Hamas puts up, that elicits from Hashem a level that also is beyond limitation. From the very essence of Hashem, because netzach isn't rooted in atzmos. So now, with that, we can understand a deeper connection between tzivas Hashem, the avoid of the Yid, and shem tzvakas, the name tzvakas. How's that? Now we can understand how it is that through avoid of tzivas Hashem, which in this ois we just said is the struggle with the nefesh Bahamas, the internal struggle to elicit midas and netzach, to elicit the part of me that's not taking no for an answer and pushing its way through, even though there's a nefesh Bahamas that's fighting back. That's what he said now, right? Not birurim, meaning not directly birurim is what he talks about. He's talking about the internal struggle of nefesh Bahamas. What do we elicit? Mamshich Shem Tzvakos. We elicit the name Tzvakos. But what's the name Tzvakos now? It's talking netzach, but it's netzach rooted in atzmos. So you see how we switched it a little bit? In the previous ois is Tzivos Hashem meant Avodas HaBrurim, elevate the sparks in the world around us. And what does that do? That elicits that Atzilus, or Netzach V'Hoid of Atzilus, that unity should become one in the world around us and beyond. Now he's saying a little bit deeper. Tzivos Hashem, the struggle, the Avodah is internal with the Nefesh Bahamas. The Nefesh Bahamas wants me. And Mitzvah Netzach says, no, we're listening to Hashem. And what does that elicit? Shem Tzvokes, which is true, it's Netzach V'Hoid. But what are we eliciting about that? Not just that the levels of Atzilus that are ready to go into Biyah should become and actually be injected in Biyah, which is what ordinarily Netzach V'Hoid means. But rather we're eliciting Netzach, yes, but Netzach as it's rooted in Atzmos. Because when Atzmos is threatened, it gives everything. Just like when I'm threatened, I give everything. My own Avodah of Netzach. Switching a little bit. So it's a beer, but it's a beer at a deeper level. So it's a deeper level of this before, sorry? When there's a battle, when there's a managid, Hashem is mivaz v'zaitzris. Yeah, so that's a wrong terminology. It's atzmat threatened, chas v'shalom. Kedusha is threatened. Now he explains even more how this is. So now that we've taken the name Tzvakos to a whole new level, and that it's not just about making that Biyah should also be Ilu Vargamu Echad, but we're actually trying to elicit Atzmos, and that happens through the Avodah of the Yid with his own Nefesh Bahamas, Tzivos Hashem, eliciting Netzach, Midas and Netzach within the Neshama. So I have to explain how this is. The Yadua Teres Harav Magid is well known, that which the Magid says, the Inyan with respect to, it's similar to the Magid's word in the other Maimer. I don't know if it's the same one, I don't think it is, but it's similar, certainly. So the Magid writes, where it says in the Medrash that who did God consult before he created this world, like before God created the world, he consulted tzaddikim and said, well, is this whole project worth it? And basically it's only worth it because of the tzaddikim, because of these Yidden. So it says the Rav Magid, the Yisrael, that the Jew, even before they were created, Because it's before the entire Seder Shtalshus, it's before the entire system that God's consulting the tzaddikim about this, which means even though they don't exist yet, because Seder Shtalshus doesn't exist yet, so they certainly don't exist in the way they do now as independent beings, but they must exist in some way, because God's consulting them. So how do they exist? The image of the Yid, the neshama, was etched in Hashem himself. So it's a similar word to the Maggid before. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but it's a similar concept, in that the Yid's existence is etched in the very essence of Hashem. But here, the image of the Yid is being etched where? Not from a lower level of Ashtalshlus to a higher level of Ashtalshlus, but in the very essence of Hashem, before Ashtalshlus is even a thing, because Hashem is consulting with these neshamas. So within the essence of Hashem, before anything begins, there's the Yid's neshama there. So now you know why through the Yid's avodah, with his own internal struggle, with his own nefesh habahamis, he elicits from the essence of Hashem, because that's where he started from. By the avodah is Bnei Yisrael, and therefore through the avodah of the Yid, nimshich mizgala is elicited and drawn down and revealed in Yinzeh, this idea that the Yid is nichkak, that the Yid is etched, that the Yid starts before Seder Shtalshus from Hashem himself, from Atzmas Amos. And therefore, through the avodah of Tzivas Hashem, the avodah of my internal struggle with my nefesh habahamis, bringing out my own midas and netzach, my own capacity to overpower my nefesh habahamis, my base urges, nimshech shem tzvakos, this elicited shem tzvakos, which is netzach v'hoid, that comes from Atzmos, ki shem zeh, because its name tzvakos, who kaniskil b'netzach v'hoid, is, as mentioned before, comes from netzach v'hoid, who k'moshem mavayir amur, and like my father, the Rebbe explains Barucha, explains at length. Sha'oisis tzvakos v'sidron, that the Shem tzvakos v'sidron, that the name Sha'ois the Shem tzvakos v'sidron, that the letters of the name tzvakos and its order. Okay, so the way it works is like this. I looked this up, and it's a whole long explanation there about netzav v'hoid being one, or is it two? Is it one that divides into two?
An aleph in the middle.
Yeah, so you take the name tzvakos, it's tzadik, vez, aleph, vav, saf. So if you take the line that's in the aleph, and you use that as, you call that a vav, let's say, the connector between the first half and the second half. So what you end up having is tzadik, vez, and then the first yud of the aleph. And then you have on the other side, yud, vav, and a saf. And you have that line in the middle, which is the vav connecting the two. So the first half is netzach, the second half is hoid, and the vav in the middle connecting the two. Because it's a whole pilpul there. If netzach and hoid are one, that divide into two, or the two that come one, it's a whole beer about how netzach and hoid are related to each other. And he connects it to this name tzvakos, the first half, tzadik, vez, yud, netzach, yud, vav, saf, hoid, and then the vav in the middle connecting the two. The vav of the aleph is. Sorry?
A yud piece of the aleph?
Yeah, the top yud of the aleph and the bottom of the aleph, yeah. So as he said in the parentheses, tzadik, beis, the first two letters are tzvakos, and then beis yud in the aleph, there are two yuds of the aleph, the top half and the bottom half. And then you have on the second side, vav saf. And then he doesn't say this here, but over there in the Bleivik's, in the Kut Levi, it says there that the vav of the line in the aleph is the vav connecting the first half and the second half, the netzach and the hoid. Okay, so the Leivik explains at length that moedem al netzav hoid, that tzvakos indicates netzav hoid. Now, this seems to be a Maimar Musgar. I didn't look it up, but the Pardes, in the Pardes written by the Ramak, Uvukam is Kabbalah, and elsewhere in Kabbalah, Isa, it states the Shem tzvakos ugam b'yisoid, that the name tzvakos is netzach hoid and yisoid. Okay, what's important to us, who inyan Shem tzvakos k'moshe b'netzach v'hoid, is tzvakos as it relates to netzach v'hoid.
So we're just putting it in case someone has a question here?
Yeah, I think what they're doing here is actually because beforehand, in the previous beer, in the first explanation for what Tzivas Hashem has to do with tzvakos, how the avodah is connected to the Shem of Hashem, we're talking about the avodah of birurim, and that elicits that the yichud, that's Atzilus, should come into this world. So what's negea there is that netzach v'hoid netzach v'hoid / tzvakos is waiting to be injected in biyah. So therefore, the fact that yisoid is part of it might not be a contradiction. Actually, might be part of it, because netzach v'hoid yisoid goes into malchus to come into biyah. Right? But over here, where he's talking about not netzach v'hoid, the way it's ready to be injected in biyah, it's not the point here. The point here is that the Yid is doing an internal struggle with Nesh Bahamas, that's the avodah in this ice. And that elicits midas hanetzach, which is rooted in atzmos samahos, because that's where the Yid started from, because he was nichkach ba'atzmos b'min nimlich b'shesem tzadikim, like the Maggid wrote. So therefore, what's Nageya here is not Netzach V'Hoy, the way it's waiting in Atzilus to come to Biyah. What's Nageya here is Netzach V'Hoy that's connected to Atzmos. And therefore, Dafka, we're disassociating from Yesod. Ulay Yesh Leimar. So otherwise, I don't know why it's important to be here. Maybe that's what the Rebbe is trying to say here with this little parenthesis. Don't know. When? I don't know. On Toshchav last year in Tafshin Lamates, was it? It was? Yeah, I'm asking. I don't know. Anyway. It's not Mekivan Shetzirosim Shal Yisrael Kokabah Yisbarech, because the image of the Yid is etched into Hashem himself, and that's what Moses said before from the Maggid. That's who Hashem consulted before creating this entire state of Shtashtalos. Lachen Ha'devet Tzivas Hashem. Therefore, through that avodah the Yid doing Tzivas Hashem, Ha'avodah the Netzach, the avodah that he's invoking and bringing about his own midah of netzach to overpower his nefesh habahamis. So nasa in shem tzvaka shu b'netzach v'hoid. This elicits from Hashem that it should draw down shem tzvakas, which is in netzach / hoid, which it itself is rooted in atzmos. Behind this is to say shadev, but
the netzach that's rooted in atzmos, or we're that's rooted in atzmos because we're nechka be'atzmos, and so then we do the avodah.
Yeah, we are
draw down the netzach, which makes
Netzach is rooted in Atzmos. Yeah. Netzach is always rooted in essence, both in our experience and in the Ibishter's image, but only because we ourselves are from Atzmos. Therefore, our Netzach actually reaches the Netzach as it's reached in Atzmos of Hashem. Okay. Something like that. And that's really the true Al Tzavosim that they were alluded to at the end of Ois Tes. Because someone was asking yesterday, I saw in the video about, do we become Al Tzavosim after Avodas HaBerurim or before Avodas HaBerurim? So it comes out from here that it's before the Avodas HaBerurim. It starts out that way because we're Nechkak Ba'atzmos. But it's only in this Gala once you do the Avodah of fighting in Nefesh Bahamas. So it's only after Tzivas Hashem that you reveal the fact that you always were Al Tzavosim. Something like that. That's what comes out from here. So behind this is through the Avodah of fighting this battle in the Nefesh Bahamas and winning this battle with Midas and Netzach, and so if it's revealed and drawn down from the essence of Hashem, which is connected to Midas and Netzach, which that is Tzvokos. And that causes that should be a unity in the Biyah, that it too should have the same unity of Atzilus. He doesn't explain the connection here, but I'm going to finish the mimer and I'll just suggest perhaps an explanation. Meaning, it doesn't say here. No, it almost seems like there's two different avodas. There's the avodah of the previous ice, which is the avodah of Berurim, and there's the avodah of this ice, which is the fight with the Nefesh Bahamas, Midas and Netzach. But now he's saying that through the fight with the Midas and Netzach, you also get the Shem Tzvakos of the previous ice, which is that in Biyah there should be Iu v'Gamru Echad, just like Atzilus. What's the connection between the two? It doesn't say so clearly, but perhaps I'll suggest something in a minute. Obviously, they're the same because it's a Biyah b'Omek Yoser. It's not a different Biyah. Right, it's a beer on a deeper level, which means there has to be.
It's not excluding the other.
Not excluding Chas from the previous Oisius. It's the Omek Yoser. So we'll have to.
If you work with yourself, therefore
the Pashtas, yeah.
It's going to expand.
The Pashtas, yeah.
To the outside.
The Pashtas.
How do you get Tzilis, Tzvokos, which means coming down to a seer, by, not because you're rooted in that, you avoid it.
Yeah.
You avoid it, that in itself.
It's the Pashtas, yeah. We're going to explain a little more, but the Pashtas, that's the explanation. Okay. And this gives us the power to be able to fight the Berurim, to serve Hashem and do elevating the Berurim in the time of Golos. When mitnem and kolonyonim, and we'll take with us when we go out of Golos all the stuff, likesef, iklizav, esmoles, gold, silver, and draperies, the gula sida, but the future gula shatib adam, which will be with an outstretched arm, as it was by Yitzis Mitzrayim. The pasuk says with respect to Mashiach's coming, that I will show wonders greater than it was in Mitzrayim. So even though it's much greater than Mitzrayim, but it's still compared to Mitzrayim. Through our avodah done throughout the extent of exile of Golos, especially as we're on the heels of Mashiach. The Jews will go out with an outstretched arm, to greet Mashiach, and being speedily in our days. So maybe it's saying something like this. There's other places in Chassidus where it talks about this idea that even within the nefesh, even within my own experience, I have Atzilus and I have Biyah. I mean, there's Atzilus and Biyah in the world at large, and then there is my own Atzilus and Biyah. So Atzilus, as we said before, is El Ma'achtus. And then Biyah is Amud Pruda, is the world of separation, division, multiplicity. So a person also has these kinds of experiences. Part of my life, that's one with Hashem. Let's say, I don't know, during davening, if a person is successful, every now and again, and during davening, he's in a personal Elam Atzilus, where there's not only one truth right now. It's only Hashem, that's it. But the rest of a person's life is Amud Pruda. I have, my brain is split like a pie into 1,000 different things. So one part of me that has to think about this, another part of me that has to think about that, another part of me that has to think about that. That's the biyah of me. It's the part of me that's in division, right? So avodas haberurim, in a way, is that all of these parts of my life should also be one with Hashem. Not that I stop thinking about all the other things in life. Then I'm just abandoning biyah. But all these other things in my life are also about serving Hashem. That's what avodas haberurim is. Avodas haberurim is that even when I'm sitting at my desk in my office, there's berurim in this physical table, there's berurim on the physical phone, and there's berurim in all the people I meet, then I have to elevate them, right? In other words, all the different little small pieces of my life should also become one with Hashem. Right? And that starts internally. The Nefesh HaBahamis, which says, not oneness with Hashem, the Nefesh HaBahamis says there's I, and I have this thing to think about, and I have that thing to think about, and I have that thing to think about. So the internal struggle of in Oisiyut Tzivus Hashem, where he's fighting Nefesh HaBahamis, is also about bringing Atzilus into Biyah, but internally. That the fragmentation of my life should stop being fragmented and should all be in the service of the same one Atzilus, the same one unity with Hashem. And by extension, automatically, all the physical things I interact with become elevated through that.
Yeah, the practical result is what stops us from doing birurim outside is the fact that
Nefesh
I
HaBahamis.
come up with all sorts of reasons why I shouldn't, I can't, I don't, right?
That's where the theory becomes the Shvat.
That's right.
They can take the whole world.
That's right.
And make them what Lavaya, then the Shem Tzvah is revealed down there.
Yeah, so this internal avodah is the oimik yoser of the avodas haberurim. Avodas haberurim is just you're going out and elevating the sparks to create a oneness with Hashem. The oimik yoser is you're creating a oneness in your own life, and because you are rooted in the etzem of Hashem, that reveals the oneness of Hashem, and of Atzmas Samochos bringing it down, then it should be revealed down here. So what comes out is, in the end, that beforehand the Shem Tzvakos was primarily revealed in the world. And because the Yidden were the ones who revealed Tzvakos in the world, they got an elevation. Now comes the reverse. The Oimik Yoser comes the reverse. That the primary is to be Megala, the Yid that's Nechkach Bas Musay to begin with. That's the primary tzvakos. The primary tzvakos is in the Yid's connection to Atzmas Mos, not in the fact that the Berurim come from a high place, and therefore you get elevated when you do that Avodas Berurim. But actually, the primary here is that you were always rooted in this deep place. You always had this oneness with Hashem. And the Avodas Berurim is a means for you to reveal that about you.
But we had that was in the last days too, no?
So it began a little bit in the last days. It began a bit in the last days, but now it becomes much more clear when he switches that the Avodah of Tzivos Hashem is the Oimik Yoser of the Tzivos Hashem is not just Avodah Berurim on the outside, but the internal struggle with the Nefesh HaBahamis. That becomes much more crystallized. That the Ikar of creating the Tzivos is the Yid's connection to Hashem and Atzmas Mos, because Netzach is rooted in Atzmas Mos, and that's where the Yid starts off, as the Magid writes, that Nechkach Bas Musa, even before all Seder Shtashlos. So it's not about like you get extra brownie points because you did avodah.
It actually makes it's. I was wondering yesterday or the day before, like, what's the netzach and yahid? You think if it's for Tzilas to affect biyah, it should be a Seid Malchus, right? But it makes more sense. We're talking about our nitzach and with our own battles, then it makes sense that it's kind of netzach is the ikar.
Yeah, a friend who told me that the Maimer of Toshin Mem is like the passport between. Right, he mentioned that Ois Yud is the last Ois of the second Maimer, Shes Begana. And he was saying that these Maimarim, especially Toshin Mem, is like the passport, the bridge between the second Maimer of the previous Rebbe and the third Maimer. And here you see it, because Midas and Netzach is not really the subject of Ois Yud. It's really the subject of Ois Yud Aleph. But over here already now, I was connecting it. And that the Avodah of Tzivus Hashem, which is the subject of Ois Yud, the Oimik Yoser of that is the battle of Midas and Netzach with Nesh Bahamish, which comes really in Ois Yud Aleph. So it's kind of like a bridge leading into next year's Maimarim. And I think I mentioned before, the rabbi said, the back here, in Tav Shin Chaf, the Rebbe said that after we finish Ois Yud, now it starts the Avodah of Ois Yud Aleph. Midas and Netzach. The language that we use there, that we should elicit ourselves as soldiers and start marching forward in this battle. Exactly. All right, Yidden, have a wonderful day. Okay, begin Chazar of the previous Mamorim. I think that's the plan for, that's what I was told. For Friday, Monday, and Tuesday is Chazara of the two Mamorim.